Hi, my name is Harris. I'm one of your podcast hosts. I'm also a lawyer at Treadstone Law. For most Canadians, buying, selling, or refinancing real estate, a lawyer is the last thing on their mind. That's unfortunate because lawyers play a vital role in the process. But what choices do Canadians have? Lawyers can be very expensive. Well, Treadstone Law offers resources to Canadians so they have access to the information they need. Whether you sign up for a live workshop or a mailing list, we cover topics to help you make informed decisions and avoid costly mistakes. It's advice you can start using today, and best of all, it's free. Visit treadstonelaw.ca/MAS offer or click the link below to get access right now. If you're looking to retain Treadstone Law, it's never been easier. Our entire process is online. From completing the retainer agreement to your signing appointment, everything is done from the comfort of your own home. We're your digital lawyers. The best part of it is that you don't pay anything when you're retaining our firm. Visit treadstonelaw.ca/MAS offer or click on the link below to retain us right now. Enjoy the podcast. Welcome to another episode of Hustle and Grit. Today I have a very special guest. My guest today is Ansel Clarke. Ansel is a realtor and broker of record for RE/MAX Hallmark Realty Group in Ottawa. RE/MAX Hallmark Realty Group overall has over 1,700 agents across the province of Ontario, making it one of the biggest real estate brokerages or broker groups in the province. Thank you for coming on the podcast, Ansel.
It is my pleasure to be here.
I want to, first of all, just say, it's amazing to have you on just because having somebody with your seniority in an organization that's as big as yours is something that is fruitful for our listeners only because the depth that I'm hoping to get into to some extent today, based on our climate, the real estate climate, people have a lot of questions and there's a lot of kind of stories. Every day we hear something new. But before I kind of jump into that, I wanted to focus in a little bit about yourself. And I know this is a very elementary and amateur question, how did you get into real estate? I just want to know, you're very accomplished, but how did you get into it? How did it start? Was it something that you knew from day one that, hey, I'm going to be a realtor? Was it something that somebody showed you along the way? Like, what was that journey like?
Well, it's been an interesting journey. I was started, I guess, back in 1983, but prior to that, I had been doing a number of different career paths. I was working in the government for a period of time. But when I was actually in university, I had the opportunity to work for a contractor that worked for Compo Corporation. Uh, I don't know if you remember Compo, but he was a large builder in the Ottawa area and branched out into Toronto and other areas. So I got to know some of the people around the construction and new home sales industry. And I always thought it was an interesting occupation, interesting profession. And so while I was, after I'd finished school and I was working at the various other occupations, I thought to myself, you know what? Real estate looks like a good profession. It looks like something I would enjoy doing because the day to day it wasn't the same. Every day was different. You got up, you started out your day, you did some interesting things, you met interesting people. One of my neighbors was also a realtor, and I saw how her day went. You know, she would sometimes work evenings, weekends. Um, and I was young, single, and I thought, hey, I can do that. And so I got involved, took the courses, got into real estate, and as they say, the rest is history.
But looking at that, that's a kind of a huge leap going from like a government job, which is the safest of safe jobs, arguably,
Yeah.
to going to one where it's I mean, business is unpredictable, but I would
Yeah.
say real estate is probably one of the more unpredictable, higher, more riskier kind of careers. Mentally, how
Yes, it
did you
is.
kind of shift yourself to be like, all right, I'm gonna jump from this to this? Like, how did that jump happen?
Well, I realized when I was working in the government that that wasn't the career for me,
Mm,
that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And I've always been somebody that, took chances on myself. So I got into real estate. I thought this is something that I could do, that I could make a way for myself. I could progress in it.
mm-hmm.
And so I took the leap of faith
Yeah,
and got in and never looked back. It was challenging. The
yeah,
first couple of years weren't the best years of my life.
yeah,
I had to build a business from zero, and it took some time, but eventually I was able to persevere, get through those first couple of years of low production,
mm-hmm.
and finally hit my stride in the third year where it all fell into place, and I
Yeah.
was able then to grow from that point.
So looking back, and looking at your entire experience, I guess, what would you say marks? What are the marks of a, or hallmarks of a a really good realtor? So, what are the few things for all my listeners out there? Definitely, if anybody wants to reach out to Ansel, I'm going to have, depending on where they're listening, his contact information on the side or below. What would you say makes a really good realtor within the auto industry or overall? Just what are the qualities of a great realtor?
Well, the first thing I think is you have to have a passion for it. You
Yeah.
have to want to help people. I think that's the most important thing. If you get into it because you want to make a lot of money, I don't think that's the right approach. I think you have to be truly willing to help people, to put their needs ahead of yours,
Mm-hmm.
because people will recognize that. They'll recognize whether you're in it for their benefit or for your own benefit. And if you're in it to benefit them, then I think that's going to lead to a great success in this business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I have, whenever somebody kind of comes to me and says, what, like if they're buying or selling a home, what they should be looking in a realtor, my kind of thing, exactly what you said. I also feel like there's a huge amount of EQ required. So you can't really go in and say, you know what, my friend's a realtor, I'm going to use them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but my
Yeah,
suggestion is always there's experience and there's EQ. Those are the two things that, like, if you can't communicate with your realtor, how are they going to understand what you need? And so this job is much harder and more difficult than it appears. It's not just about showing somebody a house, right? It's about understanding them, talking to them at their level, understanding where they're coming from, taking yourself out of your own shoes, and giving them the advice and the showings in the houses that they need.
you're absolutely right. And when it comes to finding a good realtor, I think you start with referrals. If you've
Mm,
done good for somebody, they will refer you and they'll speak highly of you. And that's the most important thing, is to get those referrals going. Um, if you do a bad job, they'll also tell people about you. So you want to do a good job for people. You want to put their needs ahead of yours, and you really want to service them.
yeah.
Uh, I think an important consideration when you're dealing with particularly first time buyers is education. You want to educate them as to the process, as to what's involved in the actual purchase of real estate. You don't want to just grab them and run out with them and start looking at
Mm,
houses. You want to
yeah.
educate them to the process so that every step of the way, they know what to expect. They know why you're doing what you're doing, and they know what's expected of them as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important, is to educate them as to the process and the expectations.
It's setting those boundaries and kind of really having that understanding. Everybody's on the same page. But having said that,
Exactly.
I think over the last 2 3 years, like real estate, the industry, and when I say industry, I don't mean just like, I mean the values have been going up and down, and interest rates are all over the place, but the fact,
Exactly.
the element of servicing the client has changed a lot because some people have gone completely digital. Some people, I mean, for all of COVID, I don't know how many people went out and met a realtor. My
Yeah.
question for you, I guess, is, and I'm changing gears here a little bit, for all the first time
Okay.
home buyer listeners, for even the repeat buyer listeners, what is the experience working like with yourself or your brokerage or your office? Are you guys completely digital? Do you meet in person? What's that kind of journey like for first time home buyers? Let's start off with the first time home buyers. I'm assuming it's a little bit different. You can correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but what is it like for them to kind of journey through that first time purchase with your office?
Well, I tell you, COVID has forced a lot of changes within the industry, changes that would naturally have occurred over a period of time. It all occurred within 2 years. So, this platform that we're on right now, the Zoom
Mm,
interviews and meetings, that came to the forefront where you would spend, previously I would sit down with a client for an hour or an hour and a half and go through the entire buying process, make sure that they understood, about getting a mortgage and all of that sort of stuff. Now you do it via Zoom, or throughout COVID, we had to do it via Zoom. And it's taken a while to get back to that in person
mm,
meetings, uh, but I think it's starting to come back. I think people want that in person experience. They don't want to do everything via Zoom. They want to sit with you, look at you face to face,
mm.
and really get a sense of who you are and whether you're, in fact, the person for them. That sometimes can't be accomplished over a Zoom meeting. Um, so I think, yes, COVID was made a big impact on us. I think it will stay with us. All the you know improvements that have come because of COVID, all of
Yeah,
uh, the new technologies and so forth. Uh, but there has to be a good balance
yeah. No,
between
yeah.
in person and technology.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the other day, I think even all of this year, I think a week ago was when I had my first client walking to our office because we're
Yeah,
doing it all digital. And I used to like it in person because I got to know my client much better. Now everybody wants to do it online. It's done in 15 minutes. But when they came in, I realized, you know what, like I'm a little bit out of touch in the in-person interactions now
yeah,
because I'm so used to just kind of sitting in the room and speaking to my screens. But I
yeah,
definitely feel like real estate was one of those industries, especially for realtors. Like you're not buying a chocolate bar. You're buying
no,
something that you're like, whether it's your first home or your forever home, you're buying something that you're making memories in, that require a significant portion of your wealth. It's going to generate a significant portion of your wealth over time. That it is always best, I would say, if you can, to go meet your realtor in person, and have those conversations kind
exactly.
of face to face.
Yeah, we could do a lot of the preliminary meetings via Zoom. We could send them, you know, floor plans and virtual tours of properties via the internet. But eventually, the clients wanted to walk through that house to
Yeah,
actually experience it, try it on for size if you want.
yeah,
So we did still have to meet people during COVID, and that involved, taking all the necessary precautions, mask and gloves and sanitizers, and no touching, and limiting the number of people going through properties. Uh, so we were still able to interact with our clients to a certain degree, not as much as we would under normal conditions, but eventually you still had to interact with those people to actually experience the homes that they were looking at.
Yeah. So now I'm assuming, I mean, we're kind of moving back to normalcy to some extent. So for first time home buyers, do you when they initially contact your firm, are you setting up a meeting to get to know them? What's kind of that entire process before they kind of even step into that first home?
Yeah, I think what happens is it's really up to the client now, and what are
Mm,
they most comfortable with. We have some people that certainly the the younger generation, the millennials and so forth, they may want to meet you via Zoom, and we're capable of doing that. Uh, but to a larger degree, a lot of people want to come into the office. They want to meet with you. They want to experience going out in public again.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, we're flexible. We have both options available, and it's really up to the client what
Mm,
experience they want.
yeah.
We're prepared for it.
So I guess yeah, it's the clients who are kind of very much dictating and tailoring it, rightfully so. It's
Yeah,
whatever they're most comfortable with. So
yeah,
changing
exactly.
gears, I guess, a little bit from this entire kind of experience conversation to market questions, and I know that a lot of my listeners really just kind of want to get to that that opinion on what's happening, and I
Yeah,
know I ask a lot of crystal ball questions, but I want to start off actually with more of retrospect. In Ottawa, for all those listeners, because I've got listeners all over Ontario, what was your market similar to what happened, for example, in Toronto and Vancouver over the past year, or was it different? Because I know that when we read online, we say, "Oh my God, real estate is going up like 10%, it's going down 10%," whatever those numbers are. That's never really it's a nice average number across the country, and even if you look at like Toronto, for example, different neighborhoods have different feels for it. Ottawa, I'm assuming, is going to have the same thing. Every single city is going to, even within the city, different neighborhoods are going to be performing differently. So, what was kind of Ottawa's journey the year of 2022 in terms of real estate prices and what's kind of happening since, and what's the difference between 2021?
yeah. Uh, First, I'll just reference a little bit the federal government with the interest rate, the low interest rates that they
Yeah.
brought in to help combat COVID. That affected the entire country the same, where real estate values shot up because all of a sudden it was easy money. It was
Yeah.
inexpensive to purchase a home. Your interest rates were so low that most people, if you had a steady income, could afford to buy. So it affected the entire country. Uh, Everywhere property values shot up, and Ottawa was no exception.
Mm-hmm.
We're fortunate here in Ottawa is that we have a very stable economy. We have the federal government as an employer, and we also have a very robust tech sector. So our real estate economy is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we experienced a tremendous increase early part of 2022 because of a lack of inventory. Our inventory levels were very low, so the demand for those properties shot up to the point where we saw about a 15% increase in prices from December of last year in the spring. Uh, so March, between
Mm-hmm.
December and March, our prices went up by about 15%,
Mm.
which was unsustainable. That kind of an increase just doesn't happen. But that's because we had less than a month's worth of inventory at the time. Right now, the property values have receded since then. So, we're looking right now at about 3.5 to 4 months of inventory. So that has put a downward pressure on the prices, along with the increase in the interest rates. We've had you know 8 or 9 increases over the last year with the interest rates. So those things combined have really put a damper on our market. Uh, Having said that, we're still, the average price for the Ottawa area is still above the average price of December 2021. 2021 was
Mm,
a record year. We sold more properties than we ever had at record prices. So having the average price come back some is good. It means more people can get into the market now, even with the higher interest rates and the combined with the lower prices. I think it's still a very good buyer's market. Buyers are still able to afford to purchase a property when you
mm-hmm.
consider everything.
Yeah, I mean, I found my opinion at least is right now, and I know there's a lot of articles with doom and gloom, sky is falling, everybody should run for the hills type of scenarios, but I feel like right now is the perfect time to buy real estate because
It is.
last year you had people putting in offers that they were going in firm, they were bidding above listing. It was
Exactly.
kind of crazy, right? And I was nervous looking at a lot of offers going in,
Yeah.
going like, okay, this is, you're not buying a chocolate bar, this is a house, so you have to kind of do your research and kind of have some kind of fail safes where you do at least a home inspection or something like that, or the house, or even visit the house. Some offers were sight unseen, firm, not no conditions above asking, which to me is
Exactly.
it confuses the heck out of me because I'm like, what's going
Yeah.
on? But now you can actually have a reasonable offer. You can actually go in with conditions. You can look at the house. And my thing is, yeah, interest rates. People are like, oh, we're going to wait for interest rates to go down. Well, interest rates, first of all, like the 1.5% or whatever was going on was unprecedented. I don't know if we're going to see that
Yeah.
again. We're going more
No.
towards normalcy, and we are more along the lines of when if interest rates go down, you can always refinance the house that you bought it for. That price sticks, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if
That's
it
right.
goes down and you've paid like 10% more than you would have, even if interest rates go up or down, like that principle stays the same. So my
Yeah.
question, I guess, this is a crystal ball question to you. What do you think is what's your opinion of the market right now, and what do you think 2023 is going to bring? Do you feel that now is a good time to buy? Do you feel like now we're going to find some good deals? I'm hoping you're going to say yes, but what's your opinion?
I think you're absolutely right. This is a great time to buy. Uh, with respect to interest rates, we're back where we were in 2018,
Mm,
2019. So this isn't unusual. This is normal. Uh, as far as the market, I think because of the inventory levels, it's now shifting towards being a balanced market. If
mm-hmm.
we continue to get increased inventory, it'll turn to be a buyer's market. But right now, 4 to 6 months worth of inventory is a balanced market.
Yeah.
And that's where we are at right now. That means that buyers have an opportunity to go out and look at a number of different houses, make a selection, negotiate on it with conditions, be able to do their inspections. If they find problems, they can renegotiate or whatever. But at least they're purchasing a property with the knowledge of what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Moving forward to next year, I see the spring being a very active time again.
Mm-hmm.
It always is the most active time of the year. And I think by then, buyers will have accustomed themselves to these interest rates and understand that buying at these interest rates is the normal process. This is what we do in the long term. Real estate is cyclical. And the last couple of years was that peak cycle. Now we
Mm-hmm.
move back into a normal market.
Yeah. So, do you think that the summer of 2023 is going to be, so 2022 slowed down a little bit? So, are you saying it's going
Yeah,
to be more busy than 2022?
I think I think we'll be as busy or busier. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
People get adjusted to the new reality, and then life goes on. And I think that's what's going to happen, is
Yeah.
that people will become accustomed to the new interest rates, the new real estate market, and they will jump back in to purchase real estate for the long haul. Real estate is a long-term game. It's a
Yeah.
long-term investment. If you buy it hoping to flip it next week and make a ton of money, uh, that's not going to happen. Real estate's a long-term,
Yeah.
should be a long-term investment strategy. People need it. They need it to live in. It's not like a stock where you can buy it and it just sits there and goes up and
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
People actually need to live in these homes. So there will always be a demand for it.
I mean,
And
I I 100% agree. Sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to add
yeah,
one thing to, because what you said kind of just resonates so much. Because I think a lot of people, like you said, like stocks, a lot of people are looking at these prices like they're day trading. And like it's like, oh, it
yeah,
went up and it went down and up and down. And it's like, well, you're going to be, like you said, living there for 10, 15 years. What do you put the
yeah.
value on? The memories you're going to make and all of that with your kids. Like there's that. And I mean, I'm not saying that should justify the price going down, but it's not. Over 10, 15 years, you're not going to see a fall in the value of those houses.
No, you're not. The long rate for Ottawa, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
if you go back 50 years, you look at the real estate market in Ottawa, and it's a steady 4 to 6% per year increase
Yeah.
in value, and that's on the value of the property, not on your investment. You may have only put 10% into the property to start, but it's the entire value of that property that's increasing by 4 to 6% per year.
Yeah.
So that 10% that you invested is quadrupling every year or
Yeah.
thereabouts. So it's really important to understand that the real estate market in the long haul will do better than any other investment.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
you and it's all tax free if it's your principal residence. So
Yeah.
where can you get a better return on your investment than the real estate, personal real estate? You
I
know,
mean, I
as an
completely agree
investment,
with
it's
you.
also great.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And there's a lot of people, like I know that during COVID and stuff, there's people investing in the stock market. Now, I don't have anything in stock market as an asset class, but when it
Yeah,
comes down to investing in, for example, like Facebook, Netflix, the FANGs, whatever, versus real estate, I always say real estate first because everybody's going to need a house. When a recession happens, people
exactly.
might not be on Facebook anymore because they got work to do,
Yeah,
but you're going to need a
yeah,
place to
exactly.
live.
Or they move from Facebook to Twitter or something, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden Facebook is worthless. But your house is always going to have value to it. It's necessary. It's
Yeah.
one of the most important items that you can invest in.
Yeah, and always like I hear a lot of people kind of saying, you know what, we're waiting for the market to bottom out. And my thing is first of all, if you're waiting for the market to bottom out, I mean, there's a lot of people who want houses because our rents are like record high. So there's people who want houses, but they're waiting for what's happening with the interest rates. But when you're looking for the market to bottom out, the only way you'll know the market's bottomed out is when it's going back up, and it's going to go back up
Yes,
much faster than it went down.
exactly. And by the time you find something and buy it, you're back where you started. So I think you don't wait for the market to drop. You buy real estate and wait.
Yeah,
And the market will go back up. Uh, so what if it drops by 5 or 10% after you buy it? It'll regain that 5 or 10% within a year or two, and you're the important thing is you're in the market.
yeah,
You know, you're not sitting there waiting. You're in the market, so you'll benefit from the ups. Yes, it'll go down at some point, but in
yeah,
the long run, it will always go up.
yeah.
There's only so much of it. They're
Yeah.
not replacing it with anything.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless we go to Mars, which is going to be some time,
Yeah,
this is all
it
we
won't be
got.
in your or my time.
100%. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you for all the advice that you've given us. Before I sign off, do you have any last words that you'd like to give the audience?
Yeah, I just want to tell them if they have any questions about real estate, they can contact a Remax Hallmark agent. We're spread across the province, as you mentioned earlier, from Ottawa through to Oakville and parts beyond.
Hmm.
I think it's very important for anyone looking to invest in real estate to get in the market as soon as possible, as soon as you can. Do your due diligence. Find yourself a good agent that you can trust, somebody that has had some experience and that puts your interests ahead of theirs. That's what I can tell anybody out there looking to get into the real estate market.
Awesome. Thank you. And for those who are listening, want to reach out, I'm going to have the contact information of the Hallmark office as well as Ansel on the bottom or on the side, depending on where you're listening. Thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure.